Good afternoon, everyone. So far, it's been a great energy summit, and I've been grateful for the messages that have been delivered and the speakers. It's been a great information gathering. My name is Doug Thornton. I am the regulatory manager for U.S. oil sands. And as I heard a speaker once say, I feel like a cow walking through a field of tall grass. I'm utterly tickled to be here. And those of you that laughed would probably relate that kind of a joke to your kids at home telling you right off of a candy wrapper or something, right? So honestly, grateful to be here and give you just a quick snapshot of where the U.S. oil sands is at. We've presented here several years in a row, and there have been lots of questions on where are we at, and well, quite frankly, when is first oil? I'd like to give you a report on where we're at on that very subject today. Can't start this subject without giving a quick little lawyer note, so read quickly, lawyers in the audience. So, U.S. Oil Sands we're a small company. We're a small company trying to innovatively develop a new way to extract bitumen from oil sand. And the purpose of that is could be a global purpose if we're able to be successful. As the slide indicates here, it's very different than how other oil sand companies throughout the world are currently operating with the old Clark hot water process. This process utilizes a biosolvent. It's very economically friendly. It produces a very high oil recovery. We also have a very high solvent and water recovery from this particular process. Absolutely no tailing ponds. Now that is very different from oil sand processes in other parts of the world. We're able to do this in a low capital environment, and that is basically our claim to fame for U.S. oil sands. We're wanting to develop this technology and develop this design and see where it might take us. Once again, the key ingredient to our process is a biodegradable biosolvent. It's from the terpene family, and many of you that have been out to our facility and toured in the last little while, we often get the comments, well, where are you hanging your air fresheners? And that's literally the smell you might smell is coming from the solvent itself, is that very citrus or pine type smell. One of the processes that is been developed early in this process is an integrated mining process and what we call a concurrent reclamation. As we're digging down to the ore beds and extracting the oil sand ore from the beds, we're concurrently taking clean sand from the process back to the mine and stored there where we can actually start our reclamation process and seed planting and whatever is required. We have identified ways to extract this oil efficiently, and in addition to the integrated mining, we've been able to come up with some real-time ore sampling and characteristics so we can tell the grade of the ore, and as it's picked up by our scrapers, they can selectively pick up what areas need or able to be processed by our plant. So the claim to fame there is just a brand new technology that we're trying to innovate. We have a local staff here that are based out of the Vernal area. Some of you may know some of these names in your communities. With me today I have Ben France and Elise Lane. You can see their names up there and what their roles are, and we're grateful that they're here. And if you need to ask any mining questions today, Ben is here. He's great with our mining process and is managing that very well. All right, an airplane view of our site. This, the project we have sits on Sitla land. We have leased roughly about 32,000 acres. This particular section, if you will, we call the PR Spring project area. It sits on about 6,000 acres. Our permitted area that we're permitted to disturb and eventually mine is really only 317 acres, so quite small. Looking at the end of that, or the forefront of the picture there, you can see our first pit area and some of the first box cuts being started. This was an early picture. We're down to the oil sand beds now and actually extracting the oil sand out of the beds. It's hauled up that haul road past the test pit up to the plant site. And at the plant site is where we've got our process in place to be able to extract the oil from the oil sand. If you've been out this way, some of you locals, it's out on the Seepridge Road, newly oiled and paved, and it's a great highway all the way out to the county line. That pit, if you look at it, actually straddles the county line, so partial pit is in Grand County, the other half is in Uintah County, so we have a nice oil paved road right to our front door, which is kind of nice. So mining methods quite different than some traditional mining methods. Because these oil sand beds are in a horizontal bed, we utilize a continuous mining machine, surface mining machine, and it is very similar to your asphalt milling machines you might see on the side of the road chewing up asphalt. It leaves a windrow, and the scrapers are then allowed to come by behind the miner, or this continuous miner, and actually pick up the areas that we designate as the high-grade ore to be able to go back to our plant. And it also gives you a snapshot of the ore beds themselves, what they look like. The ore is then taken from the scrapers back to the plant site, where it is, right, you're seeing in this picture, stacked with a radial stacker. So a very high-grade oil sand ore taken right back to the plant and then loaded from there by loaders into our plant hoppers to be processed within the plant. I like this overhead picture. It shows basically the entire plant. It's not a very, very large plant, but oil sand ore up at the top, loaded into a hopper, and then actually drops down a level where it goes through a screener and a crusher, and then is delivered via a conveyor belt to a large mixer. And the mixer would be that whitish colored horizontal tube, if you will, in the picture. That mixer rotates, and at that point is where we inject hot water and some steam. We also inject the biosolvent right there, and through a specified time in the actual mixer is when the separation occurs between the oil sand ore and the bitumen. From there it goes to a part of the process where we're removing the solids or any sands out of it, and then we go through a series of steps where we're removing the water out of the system, and then we're also eventually removing the solvent out of the system. The goal is about and through all our pilot plants and test studies, is 95% plus on oil and also, on solvent and also water recovery. A little bit closer snapshot of the plant site itself. We're terming this project basically a commercial demonstration unit. We want to prove to the world that this technology can work, and it's an environmentally friendly way to extract oil out of the sand. So this particular plant is only a 2,000 barrel a day plant, and as it says right there, in the process of starting up, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. We've been through the approval stages. We've received all our permitting stages that we need to have approved. It's already been designed. It has been constructed. It's there. It's ready to run. So to operate this plant, we've initiated what we call a 9-phase operational startup phase. We're introducing 3 different materials, water, clean solids, and then eventually oil sands, into 3 different sections of the plant. Our ore handling, our solid separation, and then eventually our oil separation. So those of you that have been with us for years and have been asking where we're at, last year it was, we'll build it and we'll be operating by the end of the year. We ran into some difficulties. Now the plant is built. Now we're just going through the phases of commissioning and getting it running. And if you were to look at it, we're actually running oil sand ore to the plant. We would be in the final stage, or the final phase, phase 9 of getting this plant up and running. Like any startup of new plants that's a brand new technology, we have run into several difficulties in trying to get pieces of equipment to run according to design. And right now, one of our bottlenecks that we've been working on in the last few weeks has been a decanting centrifuge that we're struggling with, but we're on the mend with that one as well. The goal from startup is to, start this plant, finish this last phase, and then get to a ramp-up phase where we're ramping up to our design capacity of the 2,000 barrels a day. We'll take care of that over the next couple months. And then the last step is to optimize. Optimize the plant itself, improve on recoveries, do all we can to make it an economically friendly way of extracting oil. This slide just kind of quickly gives you a snapshot of what I just said. In addition to the optimization, the big thing is the solvent recovery. We want to be able to increase our solvent recovery, work with our manpower levels on how much is needed to operate the plant, and then once again, looking at product quality. Last but not least is the markets. Yes, we can send this to refineries. They refine it as oil. An interesting market we're pursuing as well is the asphalt market, and trying to find the best market for our particular product. And short presentation, but in summary, and in the last slide, we simply want to continue this project, and as you might tell, it's a very challenging environment to promote a research and development or a new innovative project. With the price of oil that it is nowadays, it's a very challenging arena to operate in. And yet, after all that has happened in the oil market and with the price of oil, we're still there, and we're still operating. We're still trying to get to the end. We are grateful that we're here in Utah and have an opportunity to help unlock some of the resources that are here in Utah. I've been told we have 40% of the nation's stockpile of oil sand sitting in Utah, and a great majority of that is sitting right here in Uintah County. And then last but not least, our goal is to get this plant operational, make it economically feasible, and see where it might take us in other markets or throughout the world. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't also say that, like many of these others that are also presented, our goal is to do it in a safe and environmentally friendly manner. It has been that way for the building of this, or the construction of this particular project, but it is our continued effort to do just the same in the operational phase of this project. So we appreciate the time to be able to come and present, and once again, don't want it to be a repeat of last year, but we're really at the very final stages of being able to operate this plant. So thank you for your time today.